as the Hollow Legionnaires that you had just encountered decide that they have no more time for talking, and frankly no more energy. They all seem utterly exhausted, physically and mentally, and speaking to the three of you has clearly given them some respite, some cause for relief. At the same time, it seems like if they had a reason to hang on and stay energized, that reason has now gone. They've passed their burden on to you. All you know is that the second squad of Hollow Legionnaires, the location of which you do not know, were at some point in the company of the Hornsaw Sentinels, awful blight druids that prey on this forest and have grown substantially in number since Mormo's apparent death. And that isn't great company to keep, but this talk of a crippling disease, a malady, a rust, that has been creeping through the ranks of Hollow Legionnaires is certainly not appealing either. If it spreads farther, and the Hollow Legionnaire that you were speaking to, the sergeant, did say it could transmute, it could come to infect other beings, then you may well have a terrible problem on your hands. And right now, you three are the only individuals, as far as you know of it, and are still at a safe enough distance to return back to civilization and pass on the rather dangerous news. You know, or at least you've been told, that the elves of the Reed clan may be able to point you in the direction of the Hornsaw Sentinels, these druids. But you also know that these druids are likely to try and extract something from you in the form of information, power, wealth, or just your lives. They aren't good. They're not reverent of life. They are rot and decay, corruption, disease. They believe in the thorn and the toxic berry more than the beautiful flower with its succulent odour. And so, here you are, in the Reed clan's community. Bridges dividing the houses that are stood on stilts above the water that makes up the Reed clan's name, all the reeds growing up through it. Over to the three of you.
As we get all these instructions and the Legionnaires decide to go back to theirs to meditate because they get too tired, I just turn to the others and I say, well, I got you this far, but I don't know. What do you want to do?
I sort of sniff a little as I take a little dagger I have in my person and use it to sort of clean my teeth very carefully. I don't know. You're the ones with the plans. I'm just here to finish the job. Turfin, would you be willing to go and talk to some lovely druid? Something tells me that you wouldn't be so fond of that sort of druid.
Well, I believe that we need to save what is good. And to do that, we must face what is evil. So I don't think we have much of a debate here.
You mentioned some of the elves that they might know more, but I don't know if they'll just know the position of the Mormo druids, or, well, if anyone has actually heard anything of this, you know, the contingent.
Well, there's only one way to find out, isn't there?
Yeah.
I say we go. I believe that whatever we do, Corian will watch over us and protect us against whatever is out there, evil or good.
Well,
Yeah, I guess you're right.
that's all well and good, but still doesn't really give us an exact plan now, does it, If we meet the druids, are we going to talk nicely? Or are you going to want to smite them in the name of good?
Oh, that surely depends. If they give us what we need without much of a fuss, then there's no need to kill them, I suppose. I mean, it kind of depends on how I feel in the moment. But if they give us what they need, they might have a slightly bigger chance of not getting killed.
I wave my finger in the air like, yeah, that's it. That's the spirit. Compromises. So, why don't we just resupply a bit and maybe get a bit of rest in? You know, I could get some good sleep before we get out.
Yeah, I agree on that.
I shrug a little and just nod. Aye, well, whatever you two say.
Carter, as you're passing in closer to the elven village with the others, your eyes, as a pirate, are naturally drawn to whatever signs of wealth you can discern. Certainly there's very little here. This is a rural community stuck in the middle of a corrupted forest, propped up on stilts to avoid itself from being washed away. It's not likely to be lacquered in gold, far from it. But there are baubles and beads and paraphernalia hanging from the overhangs of roofs that you're recognising as holy symbols and ornaments of perhaps some wealth to the right buyer. Certainly in your previous life as a pirate of the Blood Sea, this is the kind of thing that would be stuffed at the bottom of the treasure chest for a rainy day, just in case you needed some money desperately. But it's not beyond you to thieve such things and stuff them into your knapsack.
Well, now, I can't be saying I'm not a little tempted, but I'm cautious. I'll look about for something very small, something that doesn't look too important. I don't want to be jinxed by any forest gods or alert any of these elves. I don't think we'll be leaving if I cause too much trouble, but is there just something maybe, just a little small trinket?
Certainly, yeah. You can find what you think is, some people might wear as a necklace. You think here it's just a chime that's hanging outside a door, but some ignorant human down on the coast would probably see it as jewellery. And indeed it is made up of beads of quite glamorous colour. There's purples and blues and reds on one long chain, and while you're no jeweller yourself, it doesn't look like glass, it doesn't look cheap, and it is small enough that you may be able to just pocket it and no one would notice. If you want to go for it, you can make a dexterity roll.
Could I even make a sleight of hand roll?
If you have sleight of hand, and I believe you do, then please go ahead.
Well then, how can I resist? I'll very quickly make sure no one's looking, and then just quickly snatch it up. After all, my gloves have an enchantment on them that just means my fingers move just a little quicker than they should in situations like this. So I shall roll sleight of hand. And that is a natural 20.
Oh.
So 30 in total.
Well, I think that it is fair to say you succeed with aplomb. There's absolutely no doubt that you are alone, that as your companions head on inside to this communal building, no one is paying attention to you hanging back. And so, whipping your hand up and grabbing this bauble and quickly sliding it down your sleeve, and then when you lower your arm, sliding it into your pocket, is easily done, child's play. And to anyone who was looking, if indeed there is anyone, and you don't believe so, it would just look like you were stretching briefly. They wouldn't even notice the thing was gone.
I still got it, and this makes me feel in a good mood, I don't mind resting here, but I'll be quite keen to be going soon as.
You enter the communal hall of the Reed clan, and there's some elders sat around a fire, fanning it. They're clearly cooking something over it. A thin stream of smoke is pouring through a hole in the ceiling and out into the sky above as they fan the embers. And elves, being a long-lived people, it's rare to see elves who look wizened. Elves largely die of, well, quite frankly, through adventurous pursuits. They don't often get to old age. But these elves, they look old. Damn old. They've probably got some wisdom to them. One of them creaks and stands. Ah, more visitors.
I sort of snort in amusement as I look to either of the other two. I don't quite look at one in particular.
Who are you? What are you here for? Merchants? I actually, looking by your weaponry and armor, I assume not. Who speaks for you? Come on, out with it, you're here in our community.
I give a wide, nice flourish, and I say, fair greeting to you, my good friend. I am Shagmane the Bard.
Ah, okay.
And I, with my friend here, are come to help the Hollow Legionnaires with their problems.
The Hollow Legionnaires and their problems. I'm sure they are greatly soothed by your presence. Are you here to take them away from us?
We do hope so, but unfortunately they won't leave until they find the rest of their contingent. And so we're looking for any clues of where they might have ended up.
I understand. Please, each of you take a seat. Join us in our cooking. Just a simple rice dish, but hearty. It will fill up a stomach if you've been travelling a long way.
Aye, sounds delightful.
In the case of Turfin, feeding is strictly unnecessary. You have no stomach. You are a soul bound to armour. But doesn't mean you can't act politely. So, the three of you are here seeking the other squad of Hollow Legionnaires, and you wish for advices from us.
If you have any to give, then by all means.
We know what the Hollow Legionnaires know. We rarely leave this part of the Hornsaw Forest. We remember when it was just called the Broadreach. And what the Legionnaires who are currently encamped with us said was, it was the Sentinels, those foul, contaminated druids, that were at the very least in the company of your missing friends. I would assume that they have met a foul end.
Aye.
There is a reason we stick to the water here, and we do not enter where the land turns dry.
Aye, well, it's a safe thing to be assuming. But I wonder, don't you lot have any, I don't know, scouts or magics of some kind for seeing things beyond this camp? You must.
Oh, we have magics, of course, and scouts as well, although for the purpose of hunting, not for finding missing people. I suppose my question is if you wish for us to expend energies on using such personnel or magic, as you call it, what do you pay us for this?
Well, what do you need, old man?
Old man? I know I am old, but I am a woman. It isn't immediately obvious, but it is the case that this elf is so withered that she more or less resembles an old fruit, like a raisin, in blankets, and really all you can see is the face poking out from within, so she doesn't seem offended as much as amused.
I offer you, well, my performance skills. I would happily recite any tune and anything from your folk that you might like to hear for the night.
You know the songs of the elves?
I do know a handful.
And how does that work with a horse's throat?
Well, that is what I hope you might come to appreciate. You might be surprised. And I start singing up a little and recite a short verse.
And tell me, what is the nature of the verse that you are reciting? Is it a heroic ballad, a sad song, a romantic ditty?
It is a romantic memory of times lost and the things that should still grow in these forests.
Excellent. Could you make a charisma roll, please? And of course, check your skills if there's one that you think would be particularly appropriate, or if you have any ability that you wish to use to augment this, then go ahead.
I would like to use my performance skill.
Makes sense.
I fumble.
Ah. Well, Mormo gives with one hand, takes with the other. Your caterwauling is painful even to the ears of a dead paladin to your left, Turfin, and to your right, Cutter. The two of you can't conceal the clenched teeth and look of extreme pain that comes with this Ironbred's attempt at an elven song. If anything, the way the lyrics are being framed by his gargling voice is bawdy rather than romantic. With his gestures, it's like he's suggesting something quite obscene to the elderly elf. With his words, there's not one ring of authenticity to them. It's a shocking performance, quite frankly. And at this point, the elderly elf, the wizened woman, while with Turfin's simple mistake she was amused, with this direct insult, she is unhappy.
And I finish it off with another flourish, thinking that I've made a fantastic performance. I knew I had this.
Shagmane, out of interest, do you actually know the Elvish? Like, actually know the language?
Yeah. I mean, you can tell, right?
By the gods, I have never heard anything like that in all my years. I have never heard...
Thank you.
No. Please let me finish. I never thought it would be possible for a single person to arrive unannounced and insult an entire people and their past, spanning hundreds of years. And what you were doing with your hips, frankly, please, the three of you, just leave this village.
I stare at her in shock, and then what must be a blush or something is creeping up my furry chins and goes to my eyes, and with a swift turn on my heel, I just march out of the room.
She looks at Turfin. Did you intend for your friend to insult us in this way?
No, Ma'am, let me apologize on myself, for myself and my friend. He's usually very good. I think he must have an off night.
Why was he doing that with his thighs?
I think that he was trying, when he was singing about the virility of the elves and the power which they show in battle. I think he was trying to communicate that with his body, and maybe that came off wrong.
There's no maybe about it.
It came off wrong. That's true. Please give us a chance to give you something you actually want. We haven't heard what you would actually like. So please tell us. Is there anything that we can do that could make up for this?
She is going to require a charisma roll from you, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
And again, if you have any relevant skill in terms of persuading, now is the time. Otherwise, you would just be rolling your charisma modifier, which is still good. It's still +3.
Yeah. Okay, I get a 20.
In total?
In total.
She sighs and shakes her head. There is something you could do for me. Though I wish nothing to do with your bard. From this point on.
You shall never see him again.
Well, I suspect that may not be the case, for I am to ask you a favour. I am of ancient years, and there is a shrine out in the forest where I wish to lay my body for the last time. I can feel the end approaching. Therefore, I will give you what it is you require if you give me your oath as a paladin, for I can see from your armour that that is what you are, to safeguard me and escort me to that shrine.
Of course. That would be an honor.
I do not wish to trouble my family here with having to escort my body to somewhere of holy importance, when I can rely upon two of you at least to do so.
Just to clarify there then, if we do this, would your magic actually be able to find their location? That's what we're after all.
I am no wizard or sorcerer, Slytherin. I cannot just click my fingers and know the location of your legionnaires, but I do know the forest, and that means I can follow a trail, probably better than any member of the Reed clan, but most specifically I can find these Hornsaw Sentinels that they were in the company of. I know their tracks, I know their markings.
I nod. I'm a little unsatisfied, because deep down I was hoping this would bypass the need to interact with the Sentinels, but I feel I shouldn't look a gift horse in the mouth, and so I nod and say, "Aye then, sure, we'll be doing the favour for ye. And I'm with the paladin, so if she gives the oath, I kind of have to go along with it."
Wonderful. Of course, as you have been travelling a long way, you can, the three of you, stay here to revitalise yourself before the morning.
Aye, sure. I'll find the bard and tell him that we can sleep on the floor somewhere.
Yes, specifically, there's a hut on the corner, quite a distance away. Please ensure that he performs nothing during the night. I do not wish to have my meditation broken, or for anyone else to have nightmares.
I nod and get up and give a little bow, and begin leaving, looking for Shagmane to hopefully guide him safely to this hut we are directed to.
Where is Shagmane? How far has he gone?
I storm out of the place and I go out, and I've never been so insulted in all my life. I'm so fuming. I'm looking around for anyone to take out my anger on. Then I I just see these elven children again down by the river, and I just sigh. I stand there looking at them, kind of clenching my fists as you come out.
Aye, Shagmane, don't worry, it's all been sorted out. We've got a nice little shack, we're gonna go have a little sleep, and then we're going to go to a lovely little shrine and drop off an old lady.
I might have not recited everything perfectly, but I practiced that piece.
I'm sure you did, and I can't comment. I don't know a single word of Elvish, so I'm sure it was all lovely. I liked it. I like a good sea shanty myself.
I look at you and I try to read you. Can I roll insight?
Yeah.
I'll be having an artistic eye. I'm good at reading people and details. I roll a 23. Are you trying to hide your actual... what do you think?
Well, you think I did enjoy the song, but I'm also being deeply sarcastic.
So, it's up to you, Craig, but I would suggest then that you're going to need to roll to persuade him that you're being sincere. So that would be a persuasion.
Or a deception.
Or deception, yes, sorry. That would be more appropriate.
Yes, so that is a 2, so it is blatantly obvious that I am highly amused by your bad performance.
Oh, you bastard, you didn't like it either.
Well, I mean, no, but that's only because it was so awful.
I try to punch you in the face.
I attempt to swiftly step out of the way.
And I would like to interfere.
Alright, so rather than rolling for combat, as Turfin emerges, Klara, as you have said that you wish for Turfin to interfere, as Shagmane swings a fist, Turfin is there, standing between the two of you, preventing either of you from falling in the water and making even greater fools of yourselves.
What in the order of Mithril are you doing?
Yes.
Stop that!
He said it was bad. He said my song was bad,
Yeah,
just like
it
her.
sucked. Okay? But everyone makes mistakes. Even you. And it doesn't matter now. Just don't make sexual gestures towards elderly elvish women, okay? Bad decision.
It's not a sexual gesture. It's just, I know it looks similar to...
I don't care what it is. They took it that way. We're over it now. Get over yourself.
I get over myself. What do we do now?
We rest, because you clearly need it.
Yeah, I guess I do.
I simply shrug. I ain't got a problem.
I don't have a problem either. I'm just... I guess they're not gonna help us.
They will if we do this little simple favor for them.
And
So
if
let's
you
go.
never ever sing to them again. Ever.
Well, not like I want to say. I just throw a stick into the water.
Right.
The three of you bed down for the night. In the case of our Hollow Legionnaire, she doesn't need to sleep. She has no requirement for it, but she can still pray and meditate, be alone with her thoughts for a while. The other Hollow Legionnaires in the village keep themselves to themselves, despite the fact it's pretty rare to stumble upon another Hollow Legionnaire in the wild. They don't show any signs of wanting to just chat lightly with Turfin, despite the fact you're all awake. In fact, it's not hostile, but there's a definite sense of fear to them. But the night passes, morning comes, and there's a knock on your door.
Am I the only one up?
I would imagine you were first up. Well, yes.
Yeah.
Your colleagues are slowly rousing, but you are already on your feet.
Alright. Well, I'm gonna open the door.
It's the wizened elf. Are we ready?
Give us 10 minutes, I yell into the hut.
May I speak with you while your companions ready themselves?
Of course.
Come walk with me.
I step outside.
Something you must know, Paladin, is that the Hornsaw never used to be so foul, and I believe that it can be purified again. I do not think that it is beyond all hope of saving and redemption. But these druids, they are just the skin on top of the rotten pudding that makes this forest what it is. At its heart, the mouldering heart, is Blighted Ortel, city of necromancers. Not that far, all but a week's walk, if you know the path. They are the ones who make the place worse and worse and worse. They blight the area just to see what might happen. They take away the good and replace with the bad. While a small band of your number would stand no hope of entering, let alone surviving, the city of the dead. You need to be aware that if any of these necromancers should sight you, as much as it may be against your nature, your best bet is to turn and run.
I see. I appreciate your help. I don't believe we've even deserved to get any free advice from you, but thank you.
If we somehow wander off course and I am with you and we stumble upon one of these necromancers performing an experiment, I will be turning and running. And while I may not run as fast as you, good lady paladin, see, we both do it. I know when the enemy has more power than I. Someday, someone may conspire to take down Blighted Ortel, take down this city. But until that time, you see one of those grey cloaks, those deathly features, you turn around as if you saw nothing.
Are they really that dangerous?
Most of what you see in the forest is as a result of their practice.
I see. Well, I very much appreciate what you're telling me. I'm sure it'll come in hand.
And your companions are now ready.
I be awake. What be going on?
Well, each of you has recovered the use of any abilities or spells that you used the day before. So that's good. And you, with all power from the day before recovered, you set forth from the mire of the Reed clan and into the woods. The ground stays wet for a long time. Clearly the Reed clan's lands, such as they are, if that's not an oxymoron, stretch farther than is obvious, as the trees, to the layman, would appear to just grow straight from the water, and you find yourself wading through water shin deep at points. Sometimes it goes slightly higher. The elf keeps up a brisk stride, but she, of course, avoids Shagmane. Yes, these woodlands were pure once, but you need to be careful. I can tell you a few things. Which one of you counts as a scout, dare I ask?
I can do a little bit of scouting. It's not my expertise in these woods, but some of the stuff's the same as the sea. Some of it.
And, was it you that brought you this far?
No, actually, I look a bit awkward as I sort of just point a finger at Shagmane.
Clearly he has a use.
He has many uses. He's very talented. In some ways.
I'm just kind of sticking to the back, not pretending not to look at them. I was sulking a bit yesterday. Now I'm in a different, kind of strangely cheerful mood. I was playing some games and Katerwar was getting me into a good mood afterwards, even if I didn't get to punch him. I also spent the night curiously examining how Turfin was sort of realigning her armor and getting her energy back. That was very interesting to see after all that damage done. And now I'm just walking, looking around and kind of taking the time to enjoy the strange view now that I don't have to be the one immediately looking out for poisonous plants and nasty vines.
And indeed, sometimes the elf does point such plants out. She'll just say, stay away from there. Or, walk faster here. Don't stop. And when asked for details, she tuts and shakes her head. She doesn't give you much more than she already is. And you've been walking for a good 2 hours or so. The ground is still wet. It's been sloshing around. And even with the bindings you've got on, you've got damp in your boots. Those of you who care for such things. Your trousers are sodden. Your moods aren't great because, quite frankly, it's never fun to wade for hours on end, especially due to the heat. The humidity here is growing quite intense. And she, at that point, buckles over briefly. She gestures for one of you to come close to her. She draws you over with a finger.
I walk close.
Look at this water, she says, pointing with a long finger. Can you see the red streaks making their way through it?
Yes, I can. How odd.
Some say this is the blood of Mormo. Some say it is the serpents of the Hag Queen, that they take bloody form, but if you were to put your hand into the water, and she does so, she spoosh, and she breaks up one of these red trails, you will see there is nothing solid. The lore goes that one of these days, all of these serpents will find each other again. Maybe on land, maybe in a tree, maybe in the sky, perhaps in the water. And when they do, Mormo will be reborn.
Oh.
There's naught that we can really do about it. They are just apparitions, colours in the water. But they do draw some creatures.
Probably makes sense. After all, one day the great titan Kadum is probably going to come out of the Blood Sea and eat everyone.
Well, I do hope not, but I am impressed to see you look so cheered of it. I suggest now we find some dry land. There are all manner of leeches that will gravitate toward this kind of phenomena.
And as they talk, I try to inch closer to overhear what she is saying and write down notes about this interesting bit of lore.
And she turns around. What are you doing, Bard?
Well, sorry, you were just telling us some very interesting things. I make a habit out of gathering, information like this for future work. Maybe I could make a more accurate recital of something next time. I don't know. Sorry about yesterday.
She more or less groans at you. She's clearly not in a forgiving mood. And pokes at the water with a stick up ahead until eventually she finds an incline. Says, "This is where we should head."
Aye then, well, let's be moving along.
Could each of you make a Constitution roll, please?
Yes.
Is that a saving throw or just a straight constitution roll?
It will be a saving throw.
18.
I get a natural 20.
4.
As Turfin and Cutter pull themselves up onto a shallow bank of earth, Shagmane, you are behind. You're feeling exhausted, tired, far too tired this early. And in fact, the other two of you can see that Shagmane looks dreadfully pale beneath the hair on his face.
I try to put back my notebook into its bag. I stumble and I try to grab a hold of something.
Shagmane.
Hey,
I turn around and try to hold him up. Are you okay?
That rice. They put something in the rice.
Oh, don't be ridiculous. She hits you on the head with a stick. Help him up, why don't you?
hey, alright. Come on, Shagmane there, buddy. Eyes forward, and I will attempt to support him.
I think we need a break.
Lean on you.
You more or less drag Shagmane up onto the earthen bank, only to find the largest leeches that you have ever seen clinging and dangling from his thighs and calves.
Oh my god.
What?
I look over to the elderly lady.
Her eyes widen. Oh my, they have, she doesn't touch them. And don't touch them. They have a proboscis. It's not a good idea to just pull them off, because the proboscis will stay in the wound and he'll bleed horribly.
Can you cut him off with a knife?
Cut what off? What is it?
Why don't you sing a song? I think the paladin. Do you know any curative magic? Lay on your hands, pray to your god, that kind of thing.
Yes, I do. I do.
Maybe that would be a good idea. These are creatures of sin and corruption, and I'm sure that your divine grace should make them fall off.
Yes, of course I will. I would like
And
to.
why don't horse person bard? Why don't you sing me that song you sang yesterday, but better?
And I'm getting a bit delirious at this point. I'm not really sure what I'm doing or what's happening. It's kind of everything blurs out, and I start, of course, I start reciting it again.
Okay, I'm essentially going to impose a disadvantage, but you can make another performance roll.
Very good. Let's see.
So, for the sake of listeners who are unaware, if there are any out there, when you impose a disadvantage in Dungeons & Dragons, you roll 2d20 and you take the lowest.
So last time I rolled a 1, which was a fumble, the lowest you can roll, and, well, now I roll a 2.
But with your performance...
That will give it a 7.
Yes, okay. It's not as offensive, but largely due to the fact that you are reeling from loss of blood, and there are these vampiric leeches just hanging off of you, fat and wobbling. It doesn't act as conducive toward a stellar performance.
But at least I can't do the gestures.
That's very true. You would instead be gesticulating horribly with a leech. So, Turfin, you'll lay on hands.
Yes.
You can touch a creature to restore any number of hit points, or cure a disease, or neutralize a poison. Essentially, that's what you are doing. So, you can do that.
Yep, I will.
Out of interest, as you pray, so as Turfin prays to carry on and essentially for the health of her companion, what does that prayer entail? How do you get your god to care about this bard?
Well, I kneel down because I want to put my hand near where the leech is latching on. And I don't say anything, but I close my eyes. And I try my best to think about how the evil of the world needs to be banished. And that this creature, this thing, has in an unwelcome way attached itself to something that is good and something that is pure and someone that means no harm. So I try to remind my god of that this person never did anything to justify being attacked, and that a leech in itself is evil, that it is leeching off of someone else's lifeblood.
Very good. The warmth and love of Corian, your deity, channels through your palms and into your companion, into Shagmane, and the leeches wither and drop off. They actually screech a little as they do. It's a sort of as if an intense heat is introduced to them, and then they drop off and roll with a plop into the water.
As that's happening, I just start looking around, concerned that there are more leeches possibly on us. Just doing a quick check.
Okay, could you make a wisdom roll, please?
Could I make that a survival roll?
I think survival is appropriate here.
That is a natural 20. 24.
Excellent. In that case, I'm going to tell you this. While these leeches are definitely present in the water that you've just exited, they are also present in the mud of the bank. These aren't natural leeches. I mean, you could tell that from the size, but the fact that they are prepared to burrow their way through soft mud to get to warm flesh and blood, yeah, it means you need to be beating a hasty maneuver into the woods now.
Aye, let's get Shagmane up. The leeches didn't get him in the water, they got him in the mud.
Right. Shagmane, are you feeling better?
I feel great, I say, and I stumble up. Thank you, and I kind of bow to nobody.
That's fine.
In the name of the gods, follow me.
And I follow along, kind of not sure what just happened.
As the elf leads you into the woods deeper and deeper, and now at speed, and she's knocking bushels and undergrowth aside with her stick. It's a cane, not a quarterstaff. She's not equipped for combat, that's for damn sure. She is muttering repeatedly under her breath, cursing, spitting occasionally.
Something wrong there.
They shouldn't have been so close to the village. Those leeches. They should not have been so close.
Evil is everywhere.
Yes, that I know. I just wonder whether it's the presence of those legionnaires that brought it.
Maybe.
The blight. Yeah, we're talking about blight.
Yes. Well, the forest has been blighted for quite some time. It's just when things change, that rarely means good is on the horizon in a place like this.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, we'll tell the others when we go back via the village.
Yes, there are traps, there are things they can set up to ensure that these vampire leeches don't just get them, but still, if you could pass that on, that would be appreciated.
How do you manage to keep the water so clear and everything so alive compared to the rest of the forest?
Prayers and a certain degree of magic and even technology.
Interesting.
There is a lot that you could not see beneath the water's surface in the Reed village. We keep things safe there.
It's the nicest place I've been to in this forest.
Well, let us hope that you return someday. Although, sadly, not with me. Now, and as she's about to continue speaking, could each of you make a wisdom or survival roll, if you have survival?
Yes.
How about perception?
I think perception is fair, yes. I'm happy for you to use perception or survival.
15 on my survival check.
Okay. These will tell you different things depending on which one you roll. So 15 on survival.
25 on perception.
Very good. And how about Turfin?
I got 8 on my survival.
Okay, well Turfin, your attention is then more or less on what the elf is saying. But while your companions survey the land around you, in your haste to get to where you are now, the elf has been less careful about where you're treading. And it's only now that you pick up on a couple of things. In the case of Cutter, you pick up that this area has not only been trod recently, within the last 24 hours you would assume, but also you spot a couple of what would be considered tripwires or traps up in the trees ahead. And then you look to your right and there's some in the trees along there as well. As for Shagmane, what he spots on his amazing perception roll isn't so much what he sees as what he hears. He hears a creak, and then another one shortly after, from 2 different directions, to your left and to your right. And given how well you succeeded, unmistakably it is the sounds of arrows being drawn, or bows being drawn.
Duck down! As I take cover.
And as he yells that out, I also try and grab Shagmane and say, "I duck down and don't move at the same time!
Turfin, are you ducking?
Oh, yeah.
And there's a thunk thunk as 2 thick-shafted arrows bury themselves in the ground around you.
You have listened to an episode of Red Moon Roleplaying, where we played Dead Man's Rust for Scarred Lands and 5e, which is published by our friends at Onyx Path Publishing and is on Kickstarter right now. Our game master was the gentleman gamer Matthew Dawkins, and Craig and Hjalmar were joined by our dear friend Klara Herbøl. The music was created by Aegir Sonus and Hagberg and was used with permission from their label Cryochamber. Visit cryochamber.bandcamp.com or their YouTube channel for more music for your games. We would like to give massive thanks to our champions of the Red Moon, Martin Heuschober, Nastasia Raulerson, Simon Cooper, David, Julia and David Hagberg for their generous support. And we would of course like to thank all of our other patrons, Without your support, the show would not be possible. If you want to support our work, please check us out on Patreon. You can get access to bonus campaigns for Cultivated Lost and Coriolis there, as well as get early and raw access to all of our recordings. You can also hear your name read on the show as a champion of the Red Moon, as well as play Cult with us. Most importantly, that support is what keeps the show going, so do check us out there. Thank you for listening, and see you soon again.